Hi guys, and welcome back to the Crochet Tour YouTube channel. In today's video I'm bringing you another new tutorial and this time it's for another Aggretsuko character. So I previously made Gory, so here she is if you just want to see, and that's available in another video on my channel if you want to find out how to make her. But I decided to make my second favourite character from Aggretsuko next, which is Fenneko. So here she is, and from the back she's got a little tail. And I tried to make her like roughly size comparable with Gory, so here's the two together. So yeah, if you're interested in finding out how to make Fenneko, then please keep watching this video. There's not really too much to say about this pattern. The good thing about it is that the face details are simple this time, so there's not much. There's only a couple of felt pieces to cut out, and then the embroidery of the black embroidery thread is fairly simple as well for this. There's a bit of crocheting in back loops and front loops, but I'll show you how to do that in the tutorial. I wouldn't say this is a particularly complex pattern, but yeah, as always I'll take you through all the slightly more tricky steps in my video. And as always, the written pattern will also be available on my blog, which will be linked down below. Please do let me know if you're interested in more Aggretsuko characters, and let me know which ones specifically you want me to make. I was thinking about making, you know, the main character, but I know that she's already been made quite a lot of times, so I'm not sure if people would still want to see that in my style. Let me know if you do, or maybe you want a more obscure character. I'm happy to do that. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into what you'll be needing for this tutorial. For this tutorial you'll be needing aran weight yarn in the following colours: 2 shades of beige, a kind of mid beige and a darker beige, blue, dark brown and white. Then you'll be needing your crochet hook. I've got a 4mm crochet hook to go with my aran weight yarn, but if you're using a lighter or heavier weight of yarn, then you may need to size up or down as required. You'll need some scissors, you'll need your yarn needle for sewing things together, you'll need a stitch marker. I'm just using a scrap piece of yarn there. You'll need some black felt. This is for the eyes and nose detail, and then you'll also need some black embroidery thread for the face details. You'll need some stuffing. This is just to demonstrate. You'll need a lot more than this. And then you'll need some fabric glue for gluing down all of the felt pieces. And then finally you may want some pins to help you when you're sewing everything together. So that's what you'll be needing for this tutorial. We're going to start off by making the head and body, which are worked as one piece. So if you grab your mid beige colour, we're going to start off by doing 6 single crochets in a magic circle for round 1. So that's round 1, and then for round 2 you're going to increase all the way around, and that will get you to 12 single crochets at the end of round 2. Okay, so that's the end of round 2, and we've now got our 12 single crochets all the way around. I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds now, because it's just standard increases in increments of 6, and then a few rounds of single crocheting all the way around. So for round 3 you're going to do single crochet increase and repeat that 5 more times to get you to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 4, 2 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 24 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 5, 3 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 30 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 6, 4 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 36 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 7, single crochet all the way around. Round 8, 5 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 42 single crochets at the end of the round. And then rounds 9 to 13 single crochet all the way around. So I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 14, as well. I'm going to start doing some decreases. So I just reached the end of round 13 and I'm ready to start round 14 now, and this is what it's looking like. So you can see the head is taking shape now. So for round 14, as I mentioned, we're going to start doing some decreases. So you're going to do 5 single crochets, and then you're going to do a decrease over the next 2 stitches, just like that. and we're going to repeat that 5 more times, and that will get us down to 36 single crochets at the end of round 14. Then I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds because again it's just standard decreases in increments of 6. So round 15 you're just going to single crochet all the way around, then round 16 4 single crochet decrease, repeat that 5 more times to get you down to 30 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 17 3 single crochet decrease, and that will get you down to 24 single crochets at the end of the round if you repeat that all the way around. And then finally round 18 2 single crochet decrease, repeat that 5 more times, and that'll get you down to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. So I'll meet you at the end of round 18 as we then need to stuff the head, and then we're going to carry on doing some more rounds. As I mentioned, the head and the body are made in one piece, so we're going to move on to making the body in a sec. So I just got to the end of round 18 and I've added my stuffing now, as you can see. So you're going to want to do the same thing, just make sure you stuff fairly firmly. And then now for round 19 we're just going to do single crochet decrease, and repeat that 5 more times to get us down to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. And then round 20 you're just going to single crochet all the way around. I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 21, as we're going to need to do a colour change to our blue colour to make kind of like the suit that Fenneko wears. So yep, I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 21. So I'm just about to do my last single crochet of round 20, and as I mentioned we're going to be doing a colour change now. So you're going to want to start off your single crochet as normal, so pull through your mid beige colour loop, but then we're going to pull through in our blue colour to change colour. So I've just got my blue here and that's what I'm going to do now. So I've just pulled through my blue and now we've changed colour. So what we're going to do is for round 21 we're going to do single crochet increase and repeat that 5 more times to get us up to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. So we're just going to go around like this, so single crochet and then an increase, and as I mentioned repeat that pattern all the way around. And I am just going to cut my mid beige yarn as well because we don't need that anymore. So that's that. So I'm going to do single crochet, then an increase. So that's round 21. You should have 18 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 22, 2 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get to 24 single crochets at the end of the round. And then rounds 23 to 28 single crochet all the way around. I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 29, as we're going to do something a bit different and we're going to be crocheting in the back loops, so I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm ready to start round 29 now, and we're going to just be single crocheting all the way around, but we're going to be single crocheting in the back loops only. So this one here is the front loop, the one closest to us, and this is the back loop, the one furthest away from us. So we're going to be working in just these back loops, so just like this. So hopefully you get the idea. As you can see, you should be able to see the front loops at the front here because we haven't worked into those. So that is round 29, just single crocheting in the back loops only. For round 30 and 31, we're going to just single crochet all the way around normally in both loops. And then for round 32, we're going to single crochet all the way around in the front loops only. And I will show you when I'm starting round 32, just in case you need help with crocheting in the front loops. So I'll meet you at the start of round 32. So I'm ready to start round 32 now, and we're going to be single crocheting around in the front loops only. So this time we're just going to be working in these front loops. So I'll just show you a few single crochets as an example. So you're just going to do that all the way around, and I'll meet you when you finish round 32. So I've just come to the end of round 32, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a bit of a tail. Don't need to leave a long tail or anything, we're not going to be using this for sewing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off with a fake single crochet for neatness. So I'll show you how to do that if you don't know. So just pull your yarn tail through like this, then just turn your work around like this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to skip the next single crochet, so skip this one and go into the one afterwards. and pull that tail through, and then go back to that final single crochet from round 32 into the loop that's closest to us in our current perspective, so this one here, and just pull that yarn tail through like this. And as you can see, that's created a fake single crochet here on top of the existing real single crochet, and it just makes it less obvious where the round ended. So then what you're also going to want to do is just tie that tail off inside. So I would just pull it through like this and then move it a bit further down the skirt and just select a nearby loop and do a knot like that. And you can do a few more if you want, and then you can just hide the tail on the inside and you won't see that anymore. So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to go back to some previous rounds and do some extra rounds and make the legs and stuff, and then you'll kind of see how this is going to come together. So let's do that next. So before we make the legs, what we need to do is go back to those available loops from round 28 that we didn't end up working into, and we're going to single crochet around those, and that's going to create the impression of a top that's sitting on top of a skirt. So what you want to do is decide what's going to be your front side of Fenneko. I think this side looks neater. The other side, as you can see, the head looks a little bit wonkier, the back, and also it's just a bit more obvious that the round ended at the back as well. So I'm going to decide that this is my front, and I'm going to place a pin where I roughly think the middle of the face sits, and then I'm just going to work my way down to the body, to those front loops, and roughly try and pick which loop is in line with the pin there. So I think I'm going to choose this loop here, and I'm just going to place my crochet hook inside of it, and then I'm just going to reattach my blue yarn like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet all the way around in each of those loops that we didn't previously work into. So I'll show you that. I'm just going to pull that tail. So that was one. This is the second one. I'll just hide that tail later on, so I'm just going to leave that there for now. 3, 4, and I'm just going to keep working my way around and I'll show you that. (23) and 24. So now we've finished single crocheting all the way around, so that is that, and all you need to do is just cut your yarn now. Don't worry about leaving a particularly long tail. So this is what it will look like, as you can see at the front here. So we've crocheted around now, and all you're going to need to do is just weave this tail in and also get rid of this tail as well, and that is all we need to do with those available loops from round 28. So the next thing that we're going to do once you've weaved in the tails is we're going to move on to making the legs. So we're now going to crochet the first leg, so you're going to need your mid beige colour again. You're going to turn your work around like this, and what you're going to do is you're going to find those available back loops that we didn't work into from round 31, so that'll be these loops, sorry. these loops here. Hopefully you can see what I'm referring to, so this one and so on. And what you're going to do is you're going to try and find whichever loop is the closest to the first single crochet that you did in that previous round that we just did there, using those available front loops. So for me, I think this one is probably the most in line with this stitch, so this is where I'm going to start by reattaching my yarn in. Like this. And then what we're going to do is for round 1, you're just going to work 12 single crochets in those available back loops. So that's the end of round 1. You should have 12 single crochets around. For round 2, we're going to do 4 single crochet decrease, 4 single crochet decrease, and we're going to start the round in this first single crochet that we did in our mid beige colour. So this is going to make the leg sort of come together once we do this first stitch. So that's the first single crochet, and as you can see, we've now got kind of like a leg shape going on here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease. Okay, so at the end of round 2, you should now have 10 single crochets all the way around. So I'm going to talk you through the next few rounds for the leg. So round 3, single crochet all the way around. Round 4, 3 single crochet decrease, 3 single crochet decrease. That will bring you down to 8 single crochets at the end of the round. Then round 5, single crochet all the way around. I'll meet you at the end of round 5, as we're then going to want to stuff the leg and the body firmly at this point. And then there's just a couple more rounds that we need to do, and there is another colour change we need to do for the shoes. So I got to the end of round 5, and as you can see, I've now stuffed the body, and I've also stuffed this leg that we're currently working on. So now for round 6, you're going to want to do 2 single crochet decrease, 2 single crochet decrease, and that'll bring you down to 6 single crochets at the end of the round, and I'll meet you at that point, as we're then going to need to change to our dark brown colour to make the shoes. So I'm about to do my final decrease, but I'm going to make sure that I pull through in dark brown to change colour. So I'm just going to get my dark brown now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to single crochet all the way around in dark brown, and that'll be my final round. So that should be 6 single crochets. So that is the end of round 7. So now you can just cut your yarn, leave a little bit of a tail, and we're just going to close up this hole together now. I'm going to close up the hole in the same way I normally do, so just going into the front loops of each of those 6 single crochets. Okay, so if you pull tight, that should close up the hole, and then you can just weave that yarn tail through to another stitch. So I'm just going to go in to one of these stitches at the back like this, and just snip that. So that's the first leg. Now we're going to need to reattach our yarn to make the second leg. So for the second leg, you want to reattach your yarn into the available back loop that comes after the final single crochet that you did in round 1 for this leg. So to find that, you're just going to flip your work to the back like this, and then as you can see, so that was the back loop that we worked into for the other leg, so it's going to be this next one that we need to reattach our yarn into to start the second leg. So I'm just going to do that now. And then all we're going to do is just repeat exactly the same as we did for the other leg, rounds 1 to 7. So I'm just starting round 1 with you now, which is just going to be single crocheting all the way around in those available back loops. I'm just going to fold the blue part so that I can get into those back loops a little bit easier. But yeah, seeing as this is exactly the same as what we did for the other leg, I'm not going to bother showing you all the steps again, so I'll just pop up all of the rounds on screen again now, so you can just follow those once more, and then I'll show you when I've made the second leg, and then we'll move on to the next part. So I finished making the other leg, and this is what it's looking like now with the 2 legs. Now, as you may see, there is a bit of a gap between the legs here, so what you can do is you can get a scrap piece of mid-beige yarn, and you can just reattach that around this area, and you can sew up that gap if you want to. Okay, so that will do it. It doesn't have to be particularly neat, and then I'll just weave the yarn tails through and cut them. So that's that. The legs are now finished, so we're going to move on to making the arms next. So I've already gone ahead and made one of the arms. This is what it's going to look like. So to start off with, you're going to want to use your mid-beige yarn again, and you're going to do 4 single crochets in a magic circle for round 1. Then for round 2, you're going to increase all the way around, but don't forget to change colour to white in the last single crochet. So I'm just about to do my final single crochet, and I'm going to change to white. So then all you're going to do is just a number of rounds of single crocheting all the way around in white now. So you're going to do rounds 3 to 9, just simply single crochet around in your white colour like this. So I will meet you when you've got to the end of round 9. So I got to the end of round 9, and this is what the arm's looking like now. So we're not going to stuff this. I mean, you can if you want to, but I think it looks better not stuffed. And I'm just going to slip stitch across the top to close. So I'm going to do 4 slip stitches. And that is it. So you can just fold it flat like this and then just cut your yarn, leaving a bit of a tail for sewing. So when you've got 2 arms, come back and we'll sew these to the body. I sewed down the first arm and I'm going to do the next one with you now. So I'm just going to line it up where it should sit roughly. And I'm going to start whip stitching it across the top. Then I'm just going to double check that that looks okay in terms of the positioning. Yep, I'm happy with that. So now I'm just going to sew down a couple of stitches at the front and I'll do a couple at the back as well. Okay, that should be enough at the front, so I'm just going to go in through this stitch and come out at the back. And then sew down a couple here. Then I'm just going to weave that yarn tail through the arm like this so that I can then cut it. So let me just double check. Yep, so I'm just going to cut that. Okay, so now as you can see, both of the arms are sewn down. The next little part we're going to make is the collar. So if you grab your mid beige colour again, we're going to start off by doing a foundation chain of 3. Then for row 1 you're going to single crochet across, so that's just 2 single crochets. And then for row 2, chain 1, turn and do a decrease. So now you cut your yarn, leaving a bit of a tail for sewing. And that is it. We're now going to sew this piece to Fenneko. I've just pinned the piece down where I want it to go, so I want it to look like this is part of the Fenneko's, well, I was going to say skin, but I guess it's more like fur. But yeah, that's, and then we're going to make like 2 little white collar bits to go either side of this, just so that you understand what we're doing. So I'm just going to sew this part down first. Probably get rid of the pin now. Okay, that'll probably do, so I'm just gonna weave my yarn tail through like I normally do. And I'll do the same with this one, and then I'll cut both of those, and then we can make the little white collar pieces. I've already gone ahead and made one of the collar pieces, so it just looks like this. So all you're going to do is grab your white yarn, chain 4, then do 3 single crochets across the chain, and I'm going to crochet over the tail so that I can secure that and then snip it. This last one's always a little bit tricky. There we go, so I'm going to just snip this tail and then cut my yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. So now we've got our 2 collar pieces, and we can sew these to either side of the beige piece that we just sewed down. I sewed down one part of the collar, so I'm just going to do the other part now with you. So I'm just going to basically just sew across the beige part like this. Okay, and that's going to be it. So I'm then just going to weave in those yarn tails, and I might just do a little bit of tidy up here. So for example, just create a bit more of white here to cover up that beige part in the middle, and then that should be fine. So yeah, that's all you're going to need to do for the collar. I've gone ahead and made one of the ears already, so let's start the second one together. So again, you'll be needing your mid beige yarn for this. For round 1, you're going to do 3 single crochets in a magic circle. Then for round 2, you're going to increase all the way around. So at the end of round 2, you should have 6 single crochets all the way around. I'm going to talk you through the remaining rounds for the ear now. So for round 3, single crochet increase, repeat that 2 more times to get you to 9 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 4, 2 single crochet increase, repeat that 2 more times to get you to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 5, 3 single crochet increase, repeat that 2 more times to get you to 15 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 6, 4 single crochet increase, repeat that 2 more times to get you to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 7, 5 single crochet increase, repeat that 2 more times to get you to 21 single crochets at the end of the round. Rounds 8 to 9 single crochet all the way around. Round 10, 6 single crochet increase, repeat that 2 more times to get you to 24 single crochets at the end of the round. And then rounds 11 to 12 single crochet all the way around, so I'll meet you at the end of round 12. So I just got to the end of round 12, and all you need to do is cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing, just like this. So once you have your 2 ears, come back here, and what we're going to do is make the inner ear pieces. So I've gone ahead and made one of the inner ear pieces, which is just going to sit inside the ear like this. We're going to sew this to the ear, so let's make the other one together now. So if you grab your white yarn, we're going to be working in rows for this. So we're going to start off by doing a foundation chain of 9. And then for row 1, we're just going to do 8 single crochets across the foundation chain. As always, you can work in these front loops, but I'm going to be working in the back loops because I just prefer how that looks. So I'm also going to be crocheting over this tail in the last few single crochets just so that I can secure that in place, and then I can snip that when I'm finished. Okay, so that's the end of the first row. You should have 8 single crochets across. So for row 2, we're going to chain 1, turn, and then we're going to do a decrease, and then 6 single crochets. So that's the end of row 2. Row 3, we're going to chain 1, turn, decrease 5 single crochets, row 4, chain 1, turn. This time we're going to do decrease 2 single crochets, and then another decrease. Then row 5, chain 1, turn, and we're just going to do 2 decreases this time. Then finally row 6, chain 1, turn, and decrease. So then you're just going to cut your yarn, leaving a fairly long tail for sewing, just to be on the safe side. And then, as I mentioned before, if you've crocheted over this little tail, then you can also just snip that at this point and get that out of the way. So come back once you've got your 2 ear pieces, and what we'll do is we'll sew these to the main ear, and I'll show you how to do that, and then we'll sew the joined together ear to the head. So yep, I'll show you how to do that later on. I've sewn down one of the inner ear pieces now, as you can see, so it's just going to sit on top of the other ear, and it's quite simple to just sew this down, but I'll show you me starting the next one now. So if you grab your 2 ear pieces and just place this one on top, you could pin it down if you want to, but I'm choosing not to do that this time. I'm just gonna grab my yarn needle, and I'm going to be doing a running stitch to sew this down, so I'll show you the first few stitches. So to start off with, I'm just going to go into one of these stitches up here. So I'm going to go into a beige stitch and then through to a white stitch. Then I'm going to go white to beige. Then I'm going to go beige to white. I'm just going to do that all the way around the piece. And when I reach this bit at the bottom, what I'm going to do is just go into like this, these single crochets, just sew along like this. So I'm just going to finish this off camera, and then when I've finished I'll come back and show you, and then we can sew the ears to the head. I finished sewing it all the way around now, and I just pull the yarn tail through to one of the stitches in the middle of the ear so that I can then just snip it. So now I've got my 2 ears and we're ready to sew these to the head. I've sewn down one of the ears and I'm going to start the other one with you now. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to actually pin the ear in place. You can do that if you want to, but what I've done instead is I've placed a couple of pins where I want the ear to kind of start and finish in terms of the sewing of it, just so that it will hopefully be quite symmetrical with the other side. So as you can see, if I sew it like that, then that should look quite good in terms of being equal on both sides. So yeah, it's up to you how you want to do it. This time I'm going to do it. I'm just going to remove this pin now because I can already see where I want this to start. So I'm probably going to start in this loop here. And all I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be whip stitching this down, and I'm just going to try and curve it a little bit so the ear is kind of like this rather than sitting straight like this. So I'll just do a few stitches with you now to show you. And I'll just check every now and then just to make sure I'm still on track and it's looking symmetrical. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on whip stitching all the way down. So I'm going to do that all the way across here, and then I'm also going to whip stitch the back down as well. As you can see, that's what I've done on this side here, and I'll meet you once we've all whip stitched around the ear, and then we can move on to, I think what we'll do after this is probably adding the face details. As you can see, both the ears are sewn down now and I'm happy with the placement, so I'm just going to weave my yarn tail through to the back of the head, and then I'll just snip this and also the other tail that from the other ear that I haven't yet snipped. Okay, so now we obviously need to add the face details, so you're going to be needing your black felt and your black embroidery thread for this, and also obviously your glue, so let's do that now. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just cut out your felt pieces ready. So all you need for this is just 2 black kind of oval shapes and then 1 small black rounded triangle shape for the nose. And I will just place these on the face for scale as well so that you can see how big I cut these. So that's roughly the size that you're after. And once you've got these pieces cut, come back, and what we're going to do is we're going to firstly embroider the mouth, then we're going to glue the nose above the mouth, then we're going to work out where we're going to position the eyes, and just before we glue the eyes down we're going to add little eyelash details because we can then hide the start of the eyelash underneath the eye. You'll see what I mean when we come to do that. So grab your black embroidery thread and I'll see you in a sec. So I've got my black embroidery thread now, and to be a bit clever about this, what I'm going to try and do is imagine where I roughly think the eyes are going to sit. So it's probably going to be here and here maybe, and I'm going to start off by going in through one of those stitches near where the eye is probably going to sit, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come out where I want the mouth to sit, and I am going to leave quite a long tail here so that I can basically use this to make the eyelash later. You don't have to do this, but it just makes it a bit easy. You don't have to use a different like piece of black embroidery thread to do the eyelashes, then you can just do everything in one go. So my mouth's going to start here, the middle of it should be roughly here I think, and then I'm going to make the other side of it here. I'm not going to pull this all the way, I'm going to leave a bit of a loop because I want it to be able to glue it down kind of like that. So I'm just going to come out where I'm hoping that the other eye will roughly sit. And I think I'm happy with this, so this is what the mouth is going to look like. I'm going to glue that in place, obviously, because the loops won't sit like that unless I use a bit of glue. But yeah, that's roughly what the mouth should look like. So now I'm just going to grab my glue and add a little dab. And glue that down. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. You might need to kind of press it down for a little bit while that hardens, but yes, that is the mouth. So I think the next thing we're also going to do at this point is just glue the nose above the mouth. So I'm just going to quickly do that with you now. So this should go about here. So now we just need to do the eyes. I'm going to give this a couple of minutes to dry and then I'll come back and do the eyes and the eyelashes with you. I just want to show you another little tip as well, actually. So if you are having issues where the stuffing has poked through a bit, like you can see it's happening up here, although this doesn't matter because we're going to cover this with the eye, but like down here, you might just want to grab some tweezers and you can just pull out the little bits of stuffing that are getting in your way. So as you can see, if you compare that to the previous clip, that looks a lot cleaner now. So just a little tip, tweezers are pretty helpful as an extra tool for your crochet. So I'm going to do the eyelashes now, and I've just placed the eyes where I roughly think that they're going to sit. And what I'm going to do is just try, like I say, and add an eyelash that looks roughly even on each side. You might need to play around with this a little bit, but I'm going to start off doing this one. So. And then I'm going to place the eye again and just see if I'm happy with that. Yep, I'm quite happy with that. So I think that this side is fine. Now I just need to try and make it even on the other side, which is probably the more challenging part. So I'm gonna just move this up a little bit because I think that would be better positioning. And then I'm gonna go here and see how that looks. As you can see, that's a bit too angled compared to this side, so I'm going to redo that. Just going to pull the yarn out. Trying my best not to affect the mouth down here, because obviously these bits are connected. So I'm going to try and make that a bit of a softer angle this time. So I think I went here last time, so I might try going. Where did I go? Or maybe I went, let's see, try this. So the angle is much better this time, but it's too long compared to this side. So what I'm going to do, instead of keep undoing it and redoing it with you on camera, I'm just going to play around with this until I'm happy with it off camera, and then I'll show you what we need to do next. Okay, so I undid it and redid it a couple more times off camera, and I think I'm finally happy with the positioning of the eyelashes. So what we're going to do is take the eyes off, and what you need to do is just, you want to probably knot these black tails, and then we can glue the eyes over it to hide it. So I'm just going to... Be careful when you pull so that you don't misshape any of the face details. So that's probably fine. I'm just going to cut that, leaving a very short little tail like that. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we can glue the eyes down. So now I'm just grabbing one of my eyes and my glue. And then I'm going to place that. And then I'm going to do the other one. Just going to double check first how I'm going to place it before I put the glue on it. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So that's how the finished face looks. So the next thing we're going to do is make the little darker beige stripe piece that goes on the top of the head. So let's do that now. The head stripe piece is fairly similar to the white inner ear pieces. So we're going to start off with a darker beige colour. So just to show you, this should be a bit darker than what you already have for most of the Fenneko that you've already made. So we need to start off with a foundation chain of 8, and then we're going to do 7 single crochets across, and once again I'm working in the back loops because that's just my preference. And again, once again, I'm going to be crocheting over the tail to keep that secure, and then we can just snip that. Okay, so that is row 1. You should have your 7 single crochets across. Row 2, we're going to chain 1 turn, decrease, and then 5 single crochets. Then row 3, chain 1, turn, decrease, 4 single crochets. Row 4, chain 1, turn, decrease, 3 single crochets. row 5, chain 1, turn, decrease 2 single crochets, chain 1, turn, decrease 1 single crochet, and then chain 1, turn, decrease. So that's what your piece should look like. So then again, we just need to cut our yarn, leaving a fairly long tail for sewing, and then you can just snip this. If you've crocheted over this tail, you can just snip that. So what I'm going to do now is pin this to the head, and then I'll sew that down. We need to pin this piece down between the two ears, so that's what I've done here, as you can see. And I'm just going to be doing a running stitch to sew this down, very similar to what I did for the white inner ear piece. I'll just show you the first few stitches, and I'll probably do the rest off camera. So I'm just going to be doing that all the way around, and I'll show you when I've finished. I finished sewing the little triangle piece down, so this is what it looks like, and from the front you can just see a little bit of it. Obviously the colours are quite similar, so it's not massively obvious, but yep, that's what that looks like. So now the final thing that we need to do is just make the tail, and then we're finished. For the tail, we're going back to our mid beige colour. We're going to start off by doing 3 single crochets in a magic circle for round 1. Then for round 2, you're going to do increase and then 2 single crochets. Okay, so that's the first couple of rounds. You should have 4 single crochets at the end of round 2. I'm going to talk you through the remaining rounds because it's just a mixture of single crochets, increases and decreases, which you've already seen at various points throughout this tutorial. So round 3 is 2 increases, 2 single crochets. That will bring you up to 6 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 4, single crochet, 2 increase, 3 single crochet to get you to 8 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 5, 2 single crochet, 2 increase, 4 single crochet to get you to 10 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 6, 3 single crochet, 2 increase, 5 single crochet to get you to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 7, single crochet all the way around. Round 8, 3 single crochet, increase, and repeat that pattern twice more to get you to 15 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 9, single crochet all the way around. Round 10, single crochet, decrease, and repeat that pattern 4 more times to get you down to 10 single crochets at the end of the round. I'll meet you at the end of round 10 as we then need to stuff firmly, and then there's just one final round to do after round 10. I just finished round 10 and I've added some stuffing, so you should do the same at this point. And then we're just going to do round 11 together. So for round 11, just decrease all the way around, so that'll be 5 decreases. Okay, so that's that. Now we just need to cut our yarn, leaving a bit of a tail for sewing. Don't need that much, to be fair. And this is what your tail should look like, so it should have a little pointy bit at the end like this. So now we're going to sew this to the back of Fenneko, and then we're finished. I'm not going to use any pins to sew this down. I just want to make sure that the pointy bit is kind of pointing this way rather than pointing down like this, so that's how I'm going to hold this as I'm sewing this down. And I'm just going to sew this down. Probably just going to do a whip stitch. Sorry if you can hear my washing machine in the background. So I've sewn around once. As you can see, the tail is quite wobbly, so what I'm probably going to do is just sew around again using some of the slightly higher up stitches to do that. Okay, so I've sewn around again, and as you can see, the tail is still a little bit wobbly, but it's much more stable than it was before. So I think I'm probably just going to leave it there, but you could sew around a third time if you feel that's necessary. I'm just going to make sure that the yarn tail comes out somewhere where it's not visible, so down here, and I'm just going to cut that tail. And then we're finished, so I'm going to show you a better view of the finished Fenneko now. So this is what my finished Fenneko looks like from the front, and then from the back with the tail. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!